Welcome to What the Puck. I'm Puck. And with us today is one of my favorite guests ever. I've been looking forward to this interview for a long time. Today we have with us Jenna Belk. Jenna, could you take a moment to introduce yourself, please?
Hello. I think I'm still a baby atheist. I've been an atheist for about
No,
a
you're
year and a
not.
half.
You're an adult atheist.
A year and a half? I don't know. But I am an occasional co-host on the Atheist Experience. That's every Sunday on the ACA's channel at 4:30 p.m. Central. Anyway, then I've also started my own show called Atheist Stasis on my channel Jenna Belk. That is I've created because right after I deconverted, I discovered that there wasn't a whole lot of resource out there for people who had to completely restructure their entire worldview. So rather than providing instructions or anything like that, like a Bible, I'm just sharing a show where I'm sharing my experiences, learning new things, and trying to talk to people in a friendly way that people haven't mostly seen before. And Ethan and Puck are doing all of that. So it's awesome and I love it. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, usually I have some sort of a clever intro and something cute or funny to say, followed by me saying what the puck is something. But we're now getting to the meat of this, okay? Ethan and I have been doing this for a couple of months now. We've been having a lot of fun. We've been through the honeymoon phase of having a YouTube channel. It's time to get to work. And my body of work, I've always wanted it to be about helping people who are coming out of their religious communities or are still in their religious communities and want to find a way out of it, right? And one of the things that you got to think about when stuff happens like this is just how deep ingrained some old habits are and some old triggers are, especially if they were growing up in a very insular environment and now they're coming out of it. And old habits die hard, and sometimes they come up when you least expect it. And sometimes somebody will, even if just the smallest comment, somebody will say something or will use sometimes just as little as one word or one sentence, and something comes crashing back. And so today I wanted to focus on some of the things that happen to people who are in these deep religious environments, who are in sometimes even abusive religious environments, and who are now coming out of it and what they're still going through. And one term for this is c-PTSD. But I wanted to, before we get too far into it, just as a disclaimer, none of us here are medical professionals. We're not therapists. We're not counselors. We are speaking only from our experience. And what the stories that we've heard from other people that we talk to, and our own personal stories. So please, if you need to talk to a medical professional about this, don't talk to us. We're happy to listen to your story, but nothing beats talking to a professional about anything that you may be going through. So Jenna, you have talked to a lot of atheists in the past year in your time working with the ACA and different shows. What kind of things have you heard? And what kind of things have you experienced about growing up in an environment and that they are still having to work through now?
Let's see. I would say the thing I see most is ostracization. I see people saying that because they either came out as an atheist or a closeted atheist, they've lost a sense of community. They've lost people. They've lost friends. They've lost something. And that's probably what I see most of.
So like, and see, when I came out as atheist, my personal experience with this was most people didn't care. And most people just already assumed that I was atheist, and that's just now I'm coming out of it. This is rare, though. I mean, this is an unusual experience, especially here in the United States, where there's a lot of religious families.
Yeah, I
where
think
somebody
it depends on where you are.
Yeah. Where somebody just even saying, "Mom, Dad, I don't think I want to go to church anymore," that can be.
I don't think that would have been an option for me.
So, like, what is it like growing up in such an environment and then coming out of it and realizing, you know what, this is the stuff I don't have to worry about anymore, but I still do?
Well, okay, so the first problem is that you're raised that there are these pillars of life. And this is just from my own experience with my own family's version of Catholicism. Whatever interpretation that I got from a mix of my parents, CCD, church, all that. Anyway, there are these directions you can go as a woman. I could be a nun, or I could be like some kind of missionary nun, like or I could be like a mother. But that was it. I could be a mother or nun. So going to school, I was personally encouraged to do really well in school. I was told I was smart, I could do it, all this stuff. I was very pushed to do well in school. But I just didn't care about school. I didn't need it. It didn't apply to me. So I did what I could to do what I wanted to do, which was sports, and just got done with it. I right out of high school, like my first date with this guy was during my old high school's graduation. Started dating this guy and almost got into this very, very religious marriage. Just like this guy was just like my dad and was raised just like my dad, and almost went that direction. Anyway, that's the long story.
No. Tell the stories. This is a storytelling stream today, right? Because this is the most personal topic that I've ever done on this show. And Ethan, this goes for you too. All right. Like if you've caught yourself saying something or doing something, or something resonates with you because it's something that you grew up with, please. And anybody in the audience too. We're already seeing some fun comments over here. Who was it? Angry Aussie Atheist said, where is it? Fear of hell is a biggie too. That was a big one for a lot of people.
That's a big one for a lot of people. It wasn't a big one for me because there was at some point where somebody had told me, as long as, God knows what's in your heart. He knows whatever anybody else says or sees, he can see into your heart. And I was like, oh, well, I know I'm a good person. I try really hard to be a good person, so I think I'm good there. So I was just never afraid of it. I was like, oh no, I'm gonna see God later. I'm good.
See, yeah, for me, it was always like the idea was, we always paint ourselves in the best light. In our life story, we're almost always the good guy.
Oh yeah.
Right? But we don't know that. We are we are occasionally, and this hit me hard too. And I just came to terms with this a couple of years ago. We are someone's toxic. Right.
Oh yeah.
You can do your very best and have the best of intentions, but to someone else, it just does not resonate with them in a positive way. And that hit me very hard, that I could be the bad guy in somebody's story. And if now we apply that to a religious sense, where we have no idea what the criteria are for salvation. I'm sure the three of us were all taught very different things growing up. Like as a Catholic, there was a whole slew of things you had to do correctly, or else you wouldn't even be considered for the middle place. And growing up in that environment and having that dangling carrot of you're gonna go to hell. And I got it more than anybody else from my Protestant friends, right? They were the really big hell pushers, where even though I was Catholic and isn't this technically Christian? Nope, not Christian enough. You're going to go to hell. Yes, Sassy, you are the villain in someone's story. And I might be the villain in God's story. And there's really no way I'm going to know that. And it took a while for me to stop worrying about that. And I have to imagine that was a really big one for someone else too. Thank you, everybody. This is going to be of more than all the others. This is going to be a community stream. So share with us your stories. Talk about it in chat. Let us know what you have been through and what you're coming out of. I'm focused on religion mostly, but c-PTSD is for a lot of things. Okay. Sometimes it's just bad family situations, abusive relationships. There's a lot. Let's talk about it.
I want a disclaimer though, that so it's unfortunate for my parents that it was during my childhood that I got, my trauma. So they are a big part of it, but I don't blame them. I understand why they did everything. And I do know I have no doubt that they did everything out of love. Yeah. Everything that they did, they were doing the best that they could, and they did better than most people could have.
The phrase that I like to use is my parents did the best job they knew how to do.
Exactly. So I don't blame them. I'm just saying, I'm just going to share my experience of it. Try to be objective.
Like my parents were very, very strict with me, not even just in a religious sense, but just, living in the household. It was a very obedience based household where even if
I say jump, you say how high.
yeah, where maybe you share this too, like even if the parents are objectively proven wrong, they're still right.
Yes.
And
Until I say I'm wrong, I'm right.
right.
Is what they'd say.
Sassy, please type out as much as you'd like to. Let's talk about it. Let's share this. And because they're growing up like that, like
I think,
took. Please go ahead.
Sorry.
No,
I just think that the reason for that mostly is because children are not supposed to be able to trust themselves because they make bad decisions and they're bad. And they're just supposed to just be quiet and do what I say until you learn well enough to make decisions for yourself. And they just think that that's the way to teach because that's just how they've done it for generations, you know? That's how they've been taught to do it.
Oh,
you know, leave the baby in the crib so that they can learn that crying isn't the way to get what you want, kind of thing.
And the weird thing is, like, it doesn't stop after you grow up and move out of the house, does it? They always feel like there's always those family members who feel like I'm older, I've gone through more, I'm always going to know more than you.
Yes, and so I get triggered by other family members that I didn't even grow up with necessarily. That there are certain, like, I don't know if it's like a family tone. Is there such a thing? I get triggered very quickly by tone of voice. And I so far for me, it's only by certain people. But it I don't know, it's triggering.
No, I get it. And this is like one of those, like, I'm guessing that we don't get to talk about this very much. We listen to the stories of other people. It's very rare that we get to share our own stories.
Yeah, this is really I'm sorry, I'm uncomfortable. I've never talked about this.
No, especially
you know on air.
Be as you know, it's like I should be open with the audience that you and I have been friends for a while, right?
Yes.
And yeah, and so like there's a lot that we talk about behind the scenes that we never really talked about in you know. We've never been public about it. Even like before the show, I was like, let's try to talk about this in general terms as possible. Yeah, that's not possible. We're too deep into this. It's affected us too much. I can't do it. But like, I find myself right now with so many holdovers from when I was growing up, right? Like even things like, like what it still stings right here and here. Whenever I do something that questions authority, like at work or something, it's still kind of
major guilt trip.
Yeah, and even if it's something that we know is right, right? Like our boss is obviously doing something that's off.
Yeah,
you get this feeling that you can't do something about it. You're not supposed to do something about it,
even if there's nothing wrong.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the worst. Go ahead, Ethan.
That's interesting. I've never felt like that, and I guess maybe that's where like. I was fortunate the way my parents raised me because I've always been taught that it doesn't matter if it's your boss, it doesn't matter if you're the only person in a group of 50 people. If you see something wrong happening, you call it out.
Oh, I taught that too.
Yeah, you're taught that, and you're expected to put into practice, except against your parents or against specific family.
Okay, good point.
No, and I mean you're absolutely right. We get taught that too by our parents. It applies everywhere except for family.
Yes, that you don't. What happens in the family stays in the family. That's not healthy, by the way.
Sassy, thank you for sharing that all with us. That's
what.
Let's go and put this comment on here. Oh, you just put it away. There you go. Mother divorced my father and went on to have 3 more kids. Hated my dad and made me suffer for it. Kicked me out at 17 when child support stopped and told me that she was not my mother anymore. Sassy, I'm sorry. That I don't have words for that for a parent disowning a child. I can't even begin to know what that feels like.
So I blame religion. So I knew I was going to cry.
Talk about it. This is like
Jenna,
the most difficult.
Right now, Jenna, I would be giving you the biggest hug on the planet.
This is the most difficult stream that I think any of us have ever done. So I appreciate that we're sharing this with friends.
So one of the symptoms is difficulty regulating emotion. So, especially in such a subject. Anyway, I was disowned several times. First time. Oh my God! If anybody in my family ever sees this,
Jenna, if at any point
If this is too
you like
much,
to
we can
stop,
always.
I will absolutely.
No,
end this thing.
it's religion's fault. I blame religion. I don't blame him. Okay, my father is one of the most loving people on the planet. That's why he does the things that he does, is because he cares so much that he thinks that he has to control everything. And I blame religion for that. They're taught that by religion. So, because the story, the prodigal daughter, all that, he's under the impression I shut you off so that you learn that your way is the wrong way and you have to come back to my way. That's just what they're taught.
Yeah, I have a very good friend who she is in a very deeply religious family, and when she came out as questioning, not even atheist, just questioning, her dad had said that you are a blight on our family name. And I was just like blown away. It's like, how do you say something like that?
I got a pretty nasty email.
Oh. And there's something in like we just said 10 minutes ago, our parents were doing the best job they know how to do.
Yes.
Something in them told them this is the correct thing to say right now.
This is what she needs to hear.
Right.
This is good for her somehow. They truly believe they're doing the right thing.
It hurts now and it hurts me, but this is the right thing to do. Yes. And it just makes me wonder, like, what thought process occurs there, or what gave them the idea. Like, maybe they went through something also. I really don't know.
I would not be surprised.
Yes. Yeah, indoctrination is absolutely a bitch and a half. And it gets to the point where you start, anyway, for me, when I was growing up, I started questioning. It's like, okay, what do I believe that I truly believe? And what do I believe just because I was told this is what I'm supposed to believe?
I'm still going through that.
Yeah, it starts with religion, sure. And we run into enough people now in our internet spheres that we find ways to talk about the fallacies in religion, fine. But there's so many other things that we were taught and that we were indoctrinated into. Like, we can't even tell what was indoctrination and what we truly feel is the right thing to do. Like, how do you even begin to sort through that?
You start asking people. Listening to podcasts, looking up blogs. We just have to re-educate ourselves, and that, especially with something that you have to do you literally have to rewire your brain.
You do, and then
like,
there's that part
literally.
That says, yeah, if I'm rewiring my brain, how do I know that I'm rewiring it in a better way?
Right.
Like, how do I know that I'm not screwing things up more and this old way was the actual correct way and I'm just deviating more? Religion aside for a second, I'm deviating from what the correct way of thinking and acting as a good human being is. And we can find people who validate us and who say, yeah, I think you're doing fantastic. I think you're doing the right thing. But still, like, right here and right here and right here.
Right.
You still get that crunch, right? See, I am not as emotionally expressive and emotive as Jenna here, but I can guarantee you that in here and in here and in here, this is churning. Okay, I just learned not to display it in certain circumstances and in the same ways. And this is another part of it too. Jenna, am I correct that you learn to keep expressions to yourself?
I struggle with that, depending on the situation. I'm very bad at hiding my face. But I just wanted to read. So first
Please.
of all, as I don't believe that c-PTSD is actually defined in the DSM-5 as of right now. So I don't even think that it's necessarily a psychological term to be putting on people. It's just a descriptive word, and it's just to note what the difference between c-PTSD and PTSD is. PTSD is when you experience a traumatic event. c-PTSD stands for complex post-traumatic stress disorder, and that's when you experience a extended period of time experiencing a long period of stress to where your brain is wired around believing that that's just what the world is. Yeah.
And then when you hear the definition like that, you can see where religion definitely plays into it.
Exactly. So
You're just in a religious structure or a religious household where you're young, you're growing up. This is literally your entire reality until
The
you realize
punishments,
it. Yeah,
the hierarchy, the Bible study, the
obedience to parent
sex
figure and the.
control, the obedience,
Oh yeah,
my
we
God.
didn't even get to. Wow, we didn't even get to purity and modesty
The
culture.
control over, it's just control over your everything. I mean, it's controlled our entire American culture. Like the fact that you have to have only a man and a woman in a relationship. That's Christian.
Yeah.
And it just stems so much from that. Like when I first even, I don't even remember how old I was when I realized that there were gay couples, right? Like for a while it just didn't exist in my little paradigm, and then I find out they're a thing. And I remember, oh, what was it? It was one of the first years I was eligible to vote, right? When Alaska was putting forth the Defense of Marriage Amendment, which defined marriage as only being between men and a woman, which, by the way, at that point passed by a landslide. And then it was dealt with in a much better way about 10 years later. But I remember the reason that I voted against that amendment had nothing to do with gay couples being able to be married. It was that I didn't think the government should be involved in who says that, right? Like if you decide you don't want to marry a man or woman, great.
Yeah.
But the government shouldn't be the one that says it. Like my thinking was all screwed up back then. And Ethan, you tell story after story about how not long ago you were a conservative Republican. Well, I didn't want to use that term to describe you.
I
was
use that because I was an asshole.
Well,
Maybe
because we thought that we thought that what we taught was the right thing, and that it's our job because we were told we're disciples of the Lord. Jesus loves me. It's my job to educate everybody. It's my
just
job
such
to spread
fucking bullshit, man.
It is, and it consumes your entire life. And so then once you find out that this actually doesn't make logical sense to believe, like once you find that out, you realize, like I was 27 when I lost it, and I felt like I wasted so much time in church, so much time in church. And then so much more.
And how much of that, like this is for me still constant. So the answer for me is all the time. But out of curiosity, you say you wasted 27 years and you wasted all that time. Do you still worry that this is a waste of time? Do you still worry that now that you're atheist, you're like, maybe you're doing things like, this is something I go through. Like maybe I'm not doing the right thing, the right way.
Activism?
Yeah.
So
like, I worry about that constantly.
The problem is that I have always been the kind of person to go to extremes. That's something, Alex, that you helped me catch, because right away I started meditating, and I started experiencing, just my brain was physically changing. So it's understandable that I was a little freaked out. But I'm not gonna lie, it tickles. Like I could feel, I'm very, very self-aware when it comes to intensity of emotion. And I think it's caused by that, because it makes us hyper aware to anything that could possibly be stressful, anything that could possibly be dangerous. So it makes you, so for example, if somebody were to tell me, just stop and think about this, that is one of the most completely triggering things for me, because there is not a minute in the day where I'm not thinking and rethinking and rethinking and rethinking. So for somebody to tell me just to think, I'm like, okay, you don't know what I'm doing right now, so don't even tell me what to do.
You're making me rethink that now too, because like one of the things that irritated me most at work, like, is when people say you weren't thinking, and
I've been told that a lot.
It's like
you're just not even thinking, or you just don't care, or you just don't.
I'm starting to see this in a different light, because previously at work I would be like, you know what, you can tell me that I got the wrong answer, you can tell me that it's like I prioritized the wrong things, that's fine, don't tell me I didn't think, don't tell me that I wasn't, I didn't care. If anything, I processed the information incorrectly, but it's not from lack of trying. And by the time I take an action, I've already put a lot of thought into it.
Well,
right?
I made a lot of mistakes over and over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
That's because I mean, who knows why? I can tell you right now that I used to say that it felt like in 7th grade I grew a soul, because that was the first year that I felt like I actually had control over the things that I did and said. Because before that, I didn't know why I did anything, or I had absolutely no control over anything at all. 7th grade, I became somewhat in control, and that's caused by c-PTSD, because it completely dissociates you. I don't remember a lot before the age of 11. Another thing of c-PTSD. I have a couple of flashes of things, a lot of them where I'm like, I don't know what's happening there, but something about it made me remember, like, really, really random stuff. But that's it. Like, that's all I know. I was bullied a lot. I couldn't tell you what these people said or did to me. Couldn't tell you. No idea. I just know it was a lot. And I was told this actually might have to do, well, it was tough.
Yeah. Talk to me. We're about halftime here, but one of the things about c-PTSD that I was told to talk about was hypervigilance.
Mm-hmm.
And like in my friend, it manifests in the form of like she must be very aware of her surroundings, of the people who are with her, like to the point where, like, if we're like shopping at a bookstore or something, if I'm coming up behind her, I actually call out and make sure that she knows that I'm there before she has to be aware that I'm there. Does that make sense? It's like I have to
Yes.
say, "Hey, I'm here." Now that's
There are
a very
different kinds.
but yeah, what
That's
what
one
else
kind.
are we looking at here?
So that's one kind, and I forget what that's called. Actually, it's in this book somewhere. But that's really hypervigilant is one kind, and then the completely dissociative is the other kind. And I am the completely dissociative. And people could tell you throughout my whole life that I am a complete airhead. Like, I've never noticed anything. And I'm just this complete ditz who's just always just smiling and happy. And it was a complete show. I was like, you know what? Happiness is a choice. I'm just going to decide to be happy. So I just did. And I just ignored everything that was going wrong. I was not healthy, but ended up getting into addiction, and that's another. What? Sorry.
That's probably just as bad as the hypervigilance, where it's like your environment doesn't matter to you, and you can probably end up in a really bad situation that way.
Yeah.
Well, you're resonating a lot with the people in chat right now, by the way.
Really?
This is such a deep subject, and I appreciate that you're sharing all this with us.
I've always been an open book. I believe in if more people told the truth about what they experienced, we'd have a lot less problems, and we'd have a lot less people experiencing those things.
No, it's incredibly hard when we as a society continue to teach people that showing emotions is a weakness.
Yeah, that's what I was taught.
And like,
stop crying, go to your room.
No, and then it's like this. Now I look at my facial expression, which probably hasn't changed much through this entire stream. I think I cracked a few smiles. I look at you guys, and you guys are like, I don't know how to express to you guys that what's going on out here has nothing to do with what's going on in here, but that I don't know if I have chosen to. I like to think that I have chosen to, but I don't know that if it's just habit that I don't express myself emotively out to you guys. Does that make sense? And Ethan makes an excellent point. Part of that is because, if you want to bring toxic masculinity into this, we're not supposed to talk about our feelings. We're not supposed to talk about what's going on in here.
Yeah.
And there's a lot in there. And I've always found ways to talk about those things to very, very, very few people, mind you. And here's my thing. No one person ever knows too much about me. Like, I have to spread it out, right?
Oh yeah.
Like all the little if you take my 10 closest friends, everyone knows like a tenth of me. Not a lot of people can put that all together. So one of my biggest fears is if my friends ever become friends, right? Then I have to like come up with a combination me that matches both paradigms that both of them understand me through. This was my weirdness. I don't know what you guys are going through here.
We just found something that you and I have in common.
Oh, okay.
Keep
This
everyone at a acceptable distance and only allow certain information to,
Oh,
to
absolutely.
people.
that might be. I don't know if that. Yeah, that's me too. Kevin is probably the first person. Well, I didn't know who I was, and I'm still learning. I'm in the process of being diagnosed with a couple of things right now, in addition to c-PTSD. So I don't know a lot right now, and that's because I've never allowed myself to explore it, because I didn't like what I saw, and I didn't know how to change it, so I just ignored the crap out of it.
so
But that's another thing that really, like you said about toxic masculinity. For me personally, growing up in the Bible Belt, Texas, Southern girl, big girls don't cry either.
toxic femininity.
Oh yeah. I
mean,
was,
people don't talk about it, but there are a lot of negative things put on women also about this is what it's like to be, this is what you need to do to be a woman. That can't be any easier than this is what it means to be a man. Except I guess you don't hear toxic femininity very often, but I think it's there. You have these standards that you are expected to grow up under. I had standards that I was expected to grow up under. I try not to talk about this too much, but this is the time to do it. My sister and I were raised in very different ways. Never mind that there's a very large age difference. I'm 10 years older than my sister, right? But there are ways that my parents knew to raise a boy very differently from how they raise a girl. This goes into, I'm 40, my sister's 30, they still treat us very differently.
Well, yeah, they pushed the boys to go out for sports. They pushed me as the oldest daughter to help with the kids, even though I was the third child. And so I was also the oldest daughter. And so I was supposed to be the example, which I was a year older than my sister. And then she was a year and a half older than our next sister. So I was within 2.5 years apart of all three girls, and I was the oldest, so I had the most responsibility. But that's a Christian thing. Maybe it's Catholic or just my family's Catholic. I don't know, but I blame religion.
And I'm gonna put, we're talking about that again. Yes, I'm gonna throw that on religion because, and I don't know how much of this is unique to Filipino Catholicism. Okay, but I've always wanted to talk to someone about what the term I use for it is cultural religiosity, where it's not so much belief in the religion, but the practices of religion, like having a confirmation,
spanking, and
things like that. It's just what you do because you're part of this community, you're this part of this culture, right? It's so ingrained in the culture that this is just every part of that is what you do. You talk about punishments. Yeah, that's a lot.
What God wants.
Yeah. And oh goodness, if there's just like, everyone is bringing up another memory right now, right? And there's so much that I can talk about. I'm trying to, like, I don't talk much about my personal life. I don't really care. Like, I go by a nickname here. Jenna, you're brave enough not to. You just put yourself out there. Like, I don't care who knows that my first name is Alex. A lot of people already know. If you're connected to me on Facebook, you'd already know. The reason I don't go by my full name here, first of all, my last name is really difficult to pronounce. I just don't want to make people guess. Okay, Puck is shorter and to the point, right? But the other reason is because I'm connected to a lot of my family on Facebook. I don't think anybody knows about my YouTube, and I can't stress this enough. Everybody did the best job they knew how to do. We're going to keep on saying that over and over again because we do believe that they did it out of love. I don't know that they're aware of just how affected we are, even years after we've ever been in that situation.
I think that the way certain people were raised can create a dissociative ability to where you can literally deny reality and truly choose what to believe. And so religion teaches you pretty well how to do that. You're not,
And maps very neatly, yeah.
Yes. With the songs and the praying and the time together and the kumbaya, and it's all, it makes it very easy to ignore reality. And so once you discover reality and you look back and you're like, oh my crap, that looks a little foggy, I want to pull these people out. They're freaking out. They don't want to hear it. They don't want, they're afraid of you. So when I try to have a conversation, oh my God, it's so hard to not be triggered. That I have to take it like this slow. I did have a wonderful conversation with my mother recently, which I'm just terrified of how much she's told me she's stalking me, and I don't know what that means. So I don't know what she's watching or where or what she's thinking, but I know that if she heard anything, she would take it personally. Whatever I say, she's going to take it personally. And I just hope that she understands it. Again, I don't blame you. I disagree with the way that I was raised. Period. Yeah.
No. And that's fine. That's the best that I can say too. And I don't know, like, I know my sister knows about this channel. I don't know if any of my family does. Stands to reason there's a good amount of them that might be listening to this, if not now live, then in the future, right? That's going to be the message I sent to. It's, you guys did the best job you knew how to do.
Yes. I learned from it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to improve it in the future if I can.
And we're doing our best to appreciate that you did your best and that you did it out of love, but that it was the wrong ways for us.
Right. And so now I have to do a whole lot of work to try to reverse the damage. So that happens. A lot of people have to do that. That's pretty normal for people, I think, to have to decide how they want to be, right? But when you have c-PTSD, every time you have I have panic attacks. You feel like you're not improving at all anymore. And it's just one of those things that it just brings you back into when you really, really get triggered and get sent into an attack, you just truly feel like you're back in that moment, in a moment that you're triggered about. And I will start acting like a 10-year-old girl throwing a temper tantrum. And it's really embarrassing. But I don't have control over the things that I do in that moment. And I'm terrified of it ever happening at work or anything. Like it never has. I've been a waitress for 10 years, but I was drinking the whole time. So I'm just a different person now. I don't know. Anyway, so, TMI.
No, this is the TMI stream. Ethan can tell you, I've never shared this much about my personal story. Ever.
I haven't online, and yeah. I truly believe that somebody can learn from this. That's the whole reason I'm sharing anything, is because of this the feedback that I've gotten from people personally and directly and explicitly about how it's helped, and so that's why I keep sharing. It's not because I just like the attention. This is truly out of trying to help people.
So let's bring it to the point where we're helping people now. We have three people right now who are talking about our previous experiences in religious households. What do we most need from those who are closest to us? What do we really need them to understand? What do
validation?
We need okay. And by the way, there's a lot of people in the audience who are talking about shared experiences. If you would like to share what you would most need from your friends, please do. Okay, this is a big family stream. I would have all of you coming in to chat if we could, except for Kristen, because I know she doesn't ever want to be on camera. That's out of love, Kristen. But everybody else, I wish I could just throw you on here so we could share our stories. What do you most need from other people who like our support system, our very closest people? What do we need from them?
We need them.
Ethan, this is for you too.
I'm listening.
No, I mean, you get to answer this also.
We need them to listen and to show us that they want to listen, because our biggest fear is that nobody even wants to listen. Nobody even cares. And that's just what's been ingrained in me, at least. So,
Ethan, what's your answer?
Same.
I would amend that by saying that the three of us could probably tell some really some stories that sound like they're completely from outer space about the way we were raised and experiences that we had growing up. Okay. And to people who didn't grow up in the kind of households and communities that we did, it just sounds completely unreal and far-fetched. And the one thing that I would ask is, as ridiculous as it sounds, at least initially, believe what we're saying. Do your due diligence and do your research and ask questions if we're coming through as not understandable. But what we experienced, even if we're not describing the exact situation the same, this part right here is still, this is real.
well,
What happens in here is real.
one of the biggest things is when you say something like that and they're like, oh, but I know that person. They're just the nicest person ever. Okay.
No. Yeah.
Do you know them 100% of the time, every minute of every day?
And people are different in different circumstances.
People are different with different people.
Right.
With each child, with each parent, with each friend. We everyone puts on, well, I don't know if everyone does. I'm not sure if it's c-PTSD or just me, but or everyone. But we put on masks. And so where was I going with this? I'm sorry.
No. It's fine. This is so emotional and so deep for all of us that this is going to be the lose your train of thought stream, because a million emotions just came flooding in at once and we don't know which one to let out first. Right. But my big thing is just believe and validate. My local friend says that going to escape rooms can be triggering for her.
I can see that.
I don't understand that because it doesn't do anything for me. But then again, being submerged does crazy things to my brain that I don't like, and I don't assume everybody else understands that. So it's just as simple as saying, okay, I understand.
Well, the thing with PTSD and c-PTSD is that with PTSD, there's an event, so you can pinpoint triggers.
Right.
With c-PTSD, it's a time period, so you can be triggered by anything. Anything random, it can just take you back to this time. You could hear a carousel horse, just something very specific and weird, and it can just take you back to a place where you witnessed something or something bad happened to you, and it just triggers you, and you just all of a sudden your heart's racing and you're freaking out and you're like, okay, I don't know what's happening.
You were talking about triggers. It's okay. It's okay. Like I said, this is highly emotional. And you were just talking about how anything could spark a memory.
Yes. I'm still trying to learn mine.
That's fine. And that's the best any of us can do. It's we acknowledge this about ourselves, and we're trying to figure out the best ways out of it. So then the next question is, what is the best thing that the three of us can do as internet atheist activists? What can we do for the people in the audience who are listening to this in the future, to the people in chat who don't have as big a voice as we do? What do we do for them?
I can tell you what I do.
Mm-hmm.
I meditate. I know that sounds really stupid. I thought that sounded really stupid the first time that I heard somebody talk about, oh, you're gonna breathe? Oh, well, that sounds really special. No, actually breathing. God, I was talking to my therapist. Oxygen can make a world of a difference, because something that we do is we take very shallow breaths. We take very quiet, controlled, just simple breaths. We don't do and get oxygen in our bodies. So we have to meditate. We have to pay attention to what's triggering us, so that we can try to be more aware and try to prevent and try to surround ourselves with people that we can alert to warning signs that we're getting triggered. For example, for me, my heart starts racing, or I'll snap. I'll say something really defensive really fast and just out of nowhere, and that's just not me. I'm just not a snappy, mean person. So I'll do that, and it's very reactionary, and so that's a really good warning sign that I'm being triggered. Sometimes it's in a moment. Sometimes it can be a buildup. It's just very different with different people. And so you just have to you have to take the time to spend on yourself, to get to know yourself enough to help explain the other people around you that care enough to help you through it. And it's just time consuming and exhausting.
It's time consuming. And like from my end anyway, you never really know if you're ever going to be done. Right.
You're
like,
never done.
Yeah.
You're never going to be done. You're going to improve and you're going to learn to better manage, but you're never going to be done.
That's a really weird, hard realization.
That was very hard for me to accept.
That there's always going to be like, so you never know exactly how your brain or your body is going to react to things.
You're going to learn how to prevent it better and how to handle it better and all that stuff. But it's still going to happen. It's going to happen. So.
I want to open up if anybody in this is for me personally. Okay. If anybody in the audience has any questions for me personally, like anything about my personal situation, you have any questions for the panel in general. Like I'm not gonna ask the other people to talk about their personal lives, but if you have any questions that you would like to ask, not just in general, but specifically me, Ethan, Jenna, this is the most open any of us has ever been about ourselves and our stories ever online. Jenna, I'm honored that you would share this experience with me. I love you. I couldn't think of anybody better to share this with than a good friend like you. And Ethan, thank you very much for helping put this together. We're a great team. We're having a moment here, guys. And everybody in the audience, thank you very much for sharing this with us. It feels like, with no offense intended to the people in the audience, it feels like the three of us are just giving each other a big group hug right now.
Yeah.
And we're realizing things about each other and realizing things that we have in common and things that we want to do. So I am opening it up to any questions about anything personal. It sounds like Jenna's willing to also. Ethan, it's up to you. What's next for us? Like, what do we do now? There's always more research to do. And so you said c-PTSD is so new, that's not even an official diagnosis.
Yeah.
So it's like, what's next? How do we figure out what we do here? How are you figuring out what to do? And maybe that'll help me because I'm lost.
I bought a workbook off Amazon that I think Psychology Today recommended.
I have such this is me. Okay. I have such an issue with like, I feel like that yutz who goes to a bookstore and asks for assistance in the self-help section.
Well,
it's like, so
that's okay. Self-help is helpful. So
thank you, Angry Atheist.
When we don't know how to, when we weren't, a lot of my siblings got exactly what they needed. They have no complaints. That's fine. Mm-hmm. I'm different. I didn't get what I needed. And so I have to learn how to give that to myself. So I need help. I need people who've done this before to tell me what they did so that I can learn from it. That's something that I think I learned from a very young age, is that I'm going to have to start listening to older people than me because I don't know a lot. So I read books. And I'm learning how to identify things. I'm learning how to put up boundaries around myself, around my family. I'm learning how to give myself space when I do feel overwhelmed, to not force myself to engage like I used to, because I would just exhaust myself. Anyway.
See, for me, leaving religion was an intellectual pursuit, right? I studied and I did the research and I did the logic, and it didn't add up. It was never an emotional thing for me. I forget that for a lot of people it is.
Yeah.
And
I'm just a very emotional person. Like like the Myers-Briggs, like I'm very
INFP, ENFP, INTJ.
Yeah.
I picked this out before they did. I am that far gone. Why do you think I get along with these two so well? The FP bridge and the TJ bridge. This is what we do. Right. But like I forget how emotional of a thing religion is to people. And when I think about helping people out of their religion, I think about things like, let me give you some talking points so that when you're stuck at family dinner and somebody says, well, if God didn't create the universe, then who did? And then, it's like, now you have something to say. Well, that's a loaded question. You're assuming that it's a who. First of all, it's like you have something to say. And that's what I think about when I think about helping someone through a religious community. I forget that there's a lot of emotional weight that goes behind that. And I need to do more research into this. And
I couldn't have lost it until I was ready to ask myself.
Mm.
It was not possible to change my mind because I didn't want you to.
Right.
I'm an emotional person, and I used to be so proud of being driven by my heart, not my head.
That I used to be so proud of the exact opposite, that I can use this and shut off this because this is what's going to make the smart decisions. This is what's going to make it go forward. This, you can't trust this, okay? Because this can be changed just by having some really bad pizza the night before. And this, on the other hand, is always...
This could be influenced by the devil.
Okay, that's a new one. I didn't get that one very much growing up, but
I was told not to read things if it was questionable. I was told to see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. No, don't watch, shows with gay people in it. Don't do that. I was moved out to a town of about 100 people. I was very sheltered. Again, I blame religion, not the parents.
Oh, okay. Well, we have a question here from Angry Aussie Atheist. Let's pop this up really quick. Could you give a category of harm that each of you suffer most from, i.e., ostracism, gaslighting, etc.? Ethan, you've been quiet. Do you want to take this, or do you want to give it to Jenna
Just one?
Yeah, it's so hard to pick just one because we can think of all this and come up with examples.
c-PTSD is about a multitude of things.
Right.
That's kind of that's what complex.
I'll tell you,
we could all pick one.
Mine right now is distrust of authority, right? Like I have a hard time just accepting someone tells you to do this, just do it. Okay. And this has gotten me in trouble at work where, you know what, it's such a simple little thing. It's not worth making a fight out of.
I'm the opposite.
Okay. Well, how do you deal with that?
It's hard for me not to just accept what I'm being told.
Yeah, it's just it's
No matter
so
who it
different. And this is why it's such a broad topic that I brought us all here to talk about, right? Because the same exact thing can cause such different reactions in both of us.
I have pissed off so many jobs over my lifetime by refusing to just do what they tell me to do, because to me it's always, well, but why? Well, it doesn't.
Right.
I do that too.
And I hate when someone says, well, that's how I want it done. Oh, okay, but why? Like, this other way over here is better. Why am I doing it your way just because you said it? Like,
yeah. Okay.
It is so hard to pick just one of those. We
hard.
could riff on this for a long time.
Because it depends on the person. So
Yeah.
it does depend on the person.
And it depends on the situation
Scenario.
too. Like different
And
things,
the situation.
different things at work will trigger me. Different things about relationship will trigger me. Like one thing that used to get to me about relationships, and I've this took conscious effort to stop, is time. Right? Like I used to be Mr. It is the time you're here. Right? I am Mr. Punctuality, and I assumed that that time is a measure of respect. That if you are there on time and prepared, you are showing respect to the person who you said you would be there at a certain time and be ready for. Right? Some other people don't see it that way, and they don't see it as if I'm late, I'm intentionally disrespecting you. Right? And it took conscious effort, and I'm still not perfect at it. Ethan, sorry. I'm still not perfect at it. I've learned to associate that, you know, people lose track of time. People get too wrapped up in what they were doing just before what you were doing. It's almost never personal. It's never like, you know what? Oh, it's just Puck. I can put him off for another 5 minutes. He'll understand.
Yeah, never. It's literally never ever been that.
Yeah, but it's almost never that for anybody else either. And I look back in my past and I think about the times when I was like, you know, why wasn't I worth you being here on time for? But that's just not the way people think most of the time.
Can I gotta address
that's a lot to work out of. Go ahead.
That question just bothers me. Why ask why? Why not? Because you shouldn't do what you're told just because someone said to do it. Like, isn't that obvious?
No.
This is again contextual, and I think there's a lot to go into this. Like I had to learn pick your battles, right? Like if it's such a small minor
Yes,
thing,
that's what
know.
it is.
But
I'm
And
so
I'm not perfect at
stubborn
it.
in
I still
so
screw
many
up at it.
ways, and I think there's just some kind of there's a fighter in me, and so I get that, Ethan. That's the thing, is I totally get that, because in some situations, I don't care who you are. Like, I gave so many of my teachers so much crap, so much. Like, I've made teachers cry. I'm not kidding, and that was actually first time I was in elementary school. I was a very difficult kid, because if I didn't understand, I wasn't going to comply. And there was a lot I didn't understand. So, but at a certain point, you learn to shut that off, because it's just not getting you anywhere. So it's weird, because sometimes I'm turned on and sometimes I'm turned off. I'm either dissociated and completely in my own world, or I'm aware now. And now I know how to be aware. But the weird thing is, I didn't know how to be aware before.
There's a question specific to you, Jenna,
Sorry.
in chat. No, that's
keep
fine.
rambling.
This is such an all over the place. Yeah, let it out as much as you want to. I'm doing my best to try to keep it as topical as I can, but really, this is evolved into we're just here being us,
Well,
and we appreciate being able to do it. So
I do want to very, very, very much point this out, that yes, this is about c-PTSD.
Mhm.
Yes, I think I have it. I've been diagnosed with PTSD, and during research, we think, it's c-PTSD. But anyway, possibly other things. Now, the important thing is not the label necessarily. Now, it's important that we diagnose our own individual symptoms and handle those as they come. So yes, it can be helpful to have a diagnosis finally and firmly, for several reasons, for emotional validation reasons, and to help you figure out some cheats, really, make your life a little easier. But ultimately, if you even can't get that, because psychology is still so new, all of these diagnoses are still so new, and we're still so much we're learning, that we can't depend so much on the label.
right,
and get that out there.
And seeing that there's such a broad umbrella that goes into this. Everybody is, every individual is going to go through their process on their own. And this is why, again, we said in the beginning, I feel the need to say it now, the three of us are not professional counselors or therapists. Yes. Talk to someone who can help you if you think that you need to. Find someone who can give you professional help. Jenna, there's a question specific to you from the Sassy Heathen. Let's pop this up here. Jenna, this sounds cliche, but does a fear of abandonment disrupt your ability to maintain friendships? I struggle to maintain female friendships because I pull away before they can leave me.
So as a kid, me and my sisters used to fight over friends, because if I had a friend and then my other sister tried to be their friend too, then you were stealing my friends. And then as I got older, I'd have like one best friend for a little while, and then we would fade away. And then I have another best friend, and we'd fade. Now each time I would be completely heartbroken, like a breakup, because because at a certain point I see a pattern to where I just can't keep friends for very long, for the most part, and the fact that I just don't really get along with my parents. That scares me, because it's like, well, the two people who have known me the longest don't really get along with me either. So at a certain point, everyone's going to leave if I let anyone all the way in and really know me like as much as they can, then they're going to leave too. So absolutely. In the past, I have been very clingy in relationships. In fact, in my relationship, I'm pretty clingy. Fortunately for me, he likes that. But yes.
So my way of dealing with that, and I think, Jenna and Ethan were agreeing to this also. If you spread out your friendships and who you give parts of yourself to, you can lose a few of them or even a lot of them, and you still have a good network left there. I count on people not being there anymore after a while. This is something in Ethan, you work in IT. Have you ever heard the phrase graceful degradation? You know what that is? Graceful degradation is the idea that a substantial amount of a support network could be compromised or even destroyed, but there's enough network there that the whole structure doesn't collapse.
Yeah.
And so my way of dealing with the possibility of abandonment and everybody's going to eventually leave you is if you spread yourself out enough, then losing any number is not such a significant loss that it causes a collapse.
I take each relationship that I have so individually or as a complete, like, I'm weird. I don't know if this has anything to do with c-PTSD or
Then
religion.
talk
though.
about it anyway. This is, like I said, this is devolved. This is now we're just being us. This is as me as I've ever been on any place on YouTube. This is as real as you've ever been.
Ethan, it's getting more what?
It's kind of freaking me out how much more Puck and I have in common right now.
Yeah.
Okay, now that really freaked me out because the more I have in common with you, the more I'm going to end up wearing those unicorn bark t-shirts.
This is a great t-shirt.
It's not that great.
I like it.
Oh, Jenna, don't encourage him.
I like it.
Oh boy.
Thank you, Jenna.
See, you ever notice I always show up here in plain colored t-shirts, okay?
I'm a nonconformist.
I thought I was being the nonconformist. Everybody's wearing like band t-shirts and I'm just wearing, you know what?
Are they?
We're just going to go with dark red.
You're conforming to the societal norms of being boring.
No, you know what? Going against the grain still means you're using the grain as reference.
Going against the grain. Who wears this shit? Really? Who wears this?
I've never seen anything like that before. I think it's very
I hope
unique
I never have to
colorful,
see
and I like it. I'm an artsy person. Anyway,
I'm totally not an artsy person. So no. You know what? This has just been such an eye-opening experience for all of us, right? Like I always have What the Puck episodes intending to talk about one particular topic and beat it absolutely to death. It never works because like last week I talked to Shannon Q and we only got to about a third of what I wanted to talk about. There is still so much of that subject left. I think that's great because at the very worst, it means I know what my next 2 shows are going to be about, right?
Awesome.
But this has always been like an educational thing, right? Ethan, that's how we branded What the Puck in the first place, right? Your Saturday morning cartoons, and I'm the educational content. I'm Beekman, and you're Animaniacs. That's fine. But this
I would
now
say
has
awareness Animaniacs because there is still a purpose to my antics.
Yeah, just like on Animaniacs, they sing that song where they name all the countries and all the states and their capitals. Sure, I get it. You know, even the Muppets had educational content.
What a jackass!
Yes. Okay, but this has just been the realest that all of us have ever been, and I'm grateful for that opportunity. And I couldn't think of 2 internet YouTubers that I would rather have shared this experience with. So thank you guys so much for letting me have this.
Yeah.
And of course, now
Thank you for having me.
I got that panic. Like there are people in the audience right now who are reading this for the first time. There's going to be people who are watching this who are like, what the puck is Puck now? You know, it's like, I didn't see this. I don't know if I can back this up anymore now that I know that his stoic exterior is really just some veneer. No, as expressive as Jenna is, that's all going on behind this. I don't know how to express that any more than I am now. I never learned the fine art of talking with my eyebrows, which Jenna's very good at. I don't know if anybody's ever told you that, Jenna. You talk.
I just think I've never learned how to tame them.
No, but so unlike most What the Puck episodes, this has turned into just a great emotional release, and I'm once again very grateful that I got to share this with you guys.
Thank you.
So, Jenna, wow, I almost don't want this to end because we've just been having such a great time, but the topic is worn out, and I think it's a good time.
The topic is not worn out.
We could, you're right. We could probably talk about this forever, but
I thought last week I learned a lot. I learned a lot more of this.
What did you learn?
Are we talking last week or right now?
Both. Why not?
Today.
Yeah, today.
Let's just say I learned a lot about things that relate to me personally.
Oh, okay. About yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting. That's good. I'm glad. Hopefully you didn't learn the wrong things. Hopefully you can confirm a lot.
Well,
I feel a little less. I feel a little more normal.
Good.
Like, not like I'm the only one.
So validated? Is that a good word?
I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another way would say
I've-
just like let's alone.
Well, I've learned
Yeah,
that that's a
restaurant.
really big word for for me. That I mean, actually, I think that might even just be a human thing. Is that we need validation. We need to validate each other more, no matter who we are. We need to. This whole hiding your feelings thing, propriety. I've never understood it in the first place. And now I understand it even less.
I deal with that shit every day and I don't understand it. Like there's like a literal friggin' block in my head.
Like, why are we
nope,
wasting
don't
time
show-
on arrangements of forks versus self-reflection?
I think I actually know it's a bad answer, but I think I know the answer.
What is that?
It's like the whole etiquette thing to begin with was meant to display that you are familiar with the rules and standards, especially
hierarchy.
especially like when you are showing respect to people of different cultures, to show that you have done your due diligence to say, oh, this is what these people find respectful.
Oh, I know.
This is yeah. So there's
I guess I wasn't like literally asking. I was kind of like pointing out like the
no, I get it. Like
this is how opposite our priorities have been. And this is why I think this is why our country right now is so opposite, is because our priorities have been put on a plate in front of us in the wrong order. And there have been wrong things on it.
It's a good way to put it.
God, what a wonderful talk. And I'm so glad that I got to share it with two great people like this. And it almost seems comical to end it this way because of all the emotional weight that we've had today. We've shed tears. We've laughed. I've made fun of Ethan's shirt. We're good, right? But I wanted to end this thing, Jenna, because by saying that every time I have a guest here on What the Puck, you already know what's coming. You don't have to pretend to be surprised. Every time I have a guest here on What the Puck, I want to thank them by giving them a little token of my appreciation. I'm going to share the screen here really quick, Ethan, if you would please. Jenna, here you are, permanently commemorated in puck form.
Yay!
This is for you. Use it wherever you want to, and we'll use it on promotional materials if you'd let us anytime you're here. And today, by the way, makes the record. You are the person who's appeared on here on this channel the most out of anybody except for me and Ethan.
Actually, I think Jenna Belk has appeared on this channel more than you.
More than me?
Yes.
I have a show and she's been on here more.
Yes. You took several weeks off, Puck.
Can we just like switch our positions then? We'll just call the show What the Jenna.
I'm on like every other week too, so.
Right, and you got a roundtable coming up, and you got.
I'm not complaining. Jenna Belk can be on anytime she wants.
Yeah, the show is
I
now
like
called.
To be as helpful as I can be. So.
The show is now going to be called What the Belk, and we're just going to switch this up. Like I resign. You got this. I have two more scheduled, and then we're just gonna hand the reins over to you Tuesday nights at 9:00, which is great because when we're done here, we'll go right over and watch Twilight Zone. So this. Guys, thank you so much. This has been such a wonderful experience. Jenna, I hope you come back. There's so much more that we could talk about. There's so much more space, design space in conversations that we can have. Plus, you're just like a genuine, like wonderful person to talk to. And I'm honored to say that we are good friends, both here and outside. So, Oh, hey, Shanna Q. See, hey. She was just on here last week. We were just talking about that too. But
awesome.
I learned a lot today, and
she's been added to the AXP co-host team.
Congratulations.
I don't know. Actually, I don't know if she's accepted. I'm sure she's accepted, but
oh goodness, it's all over every form of social media right now. I think we can officially safely talk about it.
I just saw Matt posted it somewhere, and so
and then on several other places, Shannon was incredibly excited about it. So we're awesome. Very excited too, because that was like I appreciate the ACA for what it is, but the Atheist Experience show itself had gotten a little bit stale for me, where it seems to be a little repetitive, and let's talk to this caller for about 3 minutes before no you're done. And it was wonderful to see a different kind of voice there. and someone who tried to understand the opposition as well, and try to articulate the position of the opposition so well. So very nicely done, Shannon, and congratulations.
Mm-hmm.
You're always a friend of this channel, so anytime you come here, we're going to laud you with praise. It's just going to happen.
Yeah.
So and she got a puck last week too. So now it's your turn to have a puck. I will email this to you so you can use it wherever you want to. Even if you just take the files and delete them, I don't care. I'm just happy that you were here, and I'm happy that we had this conversation. I'm happy that we all got to open up in a way that none of us ever have before on our channel. And if anybody down there wants to get a hold of you, where can they reach you? Where can they watch more Jenna?
So I have a show called Atheistasis at www.youtube.com/Jenna Belk. That's my channel. The show's Atheistasis on the playlist, and just trying to learn on air, I guess, where I'm trying to relearn how to build a worldview and how to look at the world in a new way without all of this, confessional and Our Father penance and stuff. So I do message on Facebook a lot. So if anybody can find me, just look up Jenna Belk. I'm pretty easy to find. And I talk to people a lot. So if anybody wants to talk, I'm there.
You can find me on Twitter, what the puck, and then the number 0. I don't know if that's in the description down there, but we'll figure out a way to add it later. Message me too if you'd like to talk, or if you have any other questions for me personally. I'm also on Twitch, and we'll put a link in the description on that too. Those are my 2 primaries. I'll show up here a lot. If you message your friendly neighborhood atheist, it'll eventually get to me one way or the other. Ethan reads all my junk mail first, so it's like if you're okay with him knowing what's on, you can send it to him, and then it'll eventually get passed on to me. Ethan, closing remarks.
This has been an enlightening episode, that's for sure.
Let's give a shout out to the patrons. Thank you for everybody who's a patron of your friendly neighborhood atheist page. A special thank you to our top tier patrons, Trina Deluca and Cindy Plaza. What else am I missing here, Ethan? I suck at closers.
You got it, man.
Thank you once again so much for everybody in chat. Thank you. Like, comment, subscribe. And Jenna, it was wonderful to have you here this evening, and I hope we get to do this again.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jenna.
Thank you guys all very much.